Welcome to this explainer. Let's jump right in because today we're exploring a truly fascinating piece of history. We're looking at Kingston Lacy, which is this stunning property nestled away in the quiet Dorset countryside. But we aren't just looking at the architecture of a stately home today. Oh no, we are exploring how a traditional rural English estate was completely transformed into a breathtaking, full-blown Italian palazzo by a man who would ultimately be banished from it forever. It's a story of incredible vision, high society, and just profound personal tragedy.
So here is a question for you. How do you build a masterpiece when returning home literally means facing the gallows? Because we're not just talking about bricks and mortar here. We are looking at the deeply personal, dramatic tragedy of a visionary who was legally outlawed from his own country, yet completely refused to abandon his life's work. To really grasp the weight of this building, we have to understand the incredible life or death stakes of the man directing its creation.
To understand the house, we've got to understand its creator, William John Banks. He was charismatic, highly educated, and incredibly adventurous. In fact, his college friend from Cambridge, the poet Lord Byron, and let's be honest, a man who certainly knew a thing or two about misbehavior, called him the father of all mischief. Banks was an intellectual powerhouse, an amateur architect, and a guy who just lived life with an intense, relentless passion for discovery and beauty.
Now, Banks inherited Kingston Lacy, but he definitely wasn't satisfied with what he was handed. The original 1663 house, which was built by his ancestor Sir Ralph Banks and designed by Sir Roger Pratt, was a classic red brick English country estate, very traditional. But Banks' vision? Radically different. In the 1830s, he commissioned his good friend, the renowned architect Charles Barry, to encase that entire brick structure in gleaming Chilmark stone. He wanted an Italianate palazzo, complete with a lowered ground level to expose the basement and these grand new entrances. He was quite literally bringing the Mediterranean to Dorset.
But before he even began remodeling, Banks spent his youth traveling all over the globe, amassing just an incredible haul of priceless artifacts to fill this future palazzo. It's wild what he brought back. From Egypt, he secured the massive Philae obelisk, which, amazingly, actually helped the scholar Jean-François Champollion decipher Egyptian hieroglyphics. From Italy, he acquired magnificent art, like the Omnia Vanitas from Titian's studio. And from Spain, while he was serving as an aide-de-camp to the Duke of Wellington during the Peninsular War, he collected actual masterpieces by Velázquez and Murillo. His house was fast becoming a world-class museum.
But beneath all this glamorous life of high society and priceless art, there was a hidden, terrifying danger. 1835. That was the chilling year when the last executions for sodomy took place in England. For a gay man like Banks, the stakes were unimaginably high. Homosexuality was treated as a grave, capital crime, which meant he was living every single day under the constant, looming threat of the ultimate punishment.
And his tragic fall from grace unfolded incredibly swiftly. That joyful 1835 remodel was abruptly halted in 1841. Banks was caught in compromising circumstances with the guardsmen in London's Green Park, arrested, released on bail, and facing a trial that could very easily result in his execution, he made an agonizing decision. To avoid the gallows, Banks fled the country. He signed Kingston Lacy over to his brother George so the crown couldn't seize the property, and he settled in Venice. Just like that, he became an outlaw, legally banished from the home he loved.
But here is where the story of Kingston Lacy becomes truly extraordinary. Rather than abandon his life's work and just surrender to despair, the exiled Banks obsessively directed the completion of the interiors from Italy. Talk about the ultimate long-distance micromanagement project. He sent highly specific letters, detailed drawings, and strict instructions via 19th century mail from Venice to his sister, Lady Falmouth, and his brother George back in Dorset. He couldn't physically walk through the halls of his palazzo anymore, but he was absolutely going to finish building it in his mind and through his family.
The Spanish Room, a total work of art. Let's look at his absolute masterpiece. This space, which was originally called the Golden Room, is arguably Banks' greatest achievement. It is a masterpiece built entirely from grief, exile, and an unyielding artistic vision, specifically designed to house those incredible Spanish paintings he'd collected during the Peninsular War. He broke down this total work of art concept into heavily micromanaged steps. First, he shipped over painted and tooled gilded leather panels of scrolling foliage from Venetian palaces just to clad the walls. Second, he had a spectacular coffered ceiling installed. And finally, the careful, precise hanging of works by Murillo and Velázquez. He made sure the walls, the ceiling, and the art were absorbed as one single, immersive, glittering experience.
And what you really need to take away from this is the immense historical value of his long-distance choices. The pictorial canvases up in that spectacular ceiling are actually copies of Paolo Veronese's work from the Cappellini in Venice. Banks bought them thinking they were from a different palace entirely, but their true value today? Immeasurable, because the original Veronese paintings were destroyed in Berlin during the Second World War, meaning Banks's obsessive commissions from Exile are literally the only reason Veronese's designs aren't lost to history entirely. How wild is that?
This quote just perfectly captures his obsession. Even in 1850, 9 years into his heartbreaking exile, he was writing to his sister Lady Falmouth, agonizing over the inscribed cartouches over the paintings in the Spanish room. He asked her point blank, does it add to the richness of effect? He was just utterly consumed by the harmony and the aesthetic weight of a room he knew he might never actually see again with his own eyes.
In the art and architecture world, there's a fantastic German term for what Bank achieved here: Gesamtkunstwerk. It translates to total artwork. The Spanish room is a flawless example of this concept. Banks didn't leave a single detail to chance, right down to the custom double doors. They were made from walnut and inset with pearwood panels depicting the months of the year, designed by Banks himself. Even the intricate pietra dura cabinet, made of polished, colored stones, was consciously acquired to support this total, breathtaking effect. Every single thing served the unified vision of the room.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this provocative thought about Kingston Lacy. Today, hundreds of thousands of people walk through its magnificent, stone-clad halls and marvel at the Spanish room. But when you look up at those gilded ceilings and gaze at those perfectly placed paintings, you kind of have to ask yourself, if a masterpiece is born from such profound exile and sorrow, is the beauty we're seeing truly a triumph of the human spirit, or is it a heartbreaking tragedy? Is Kingston Lacy merely a grand stately home, or is it the ultimate, physical love letter to a place its creator could never return to? It's a question that completely changes how you see the stones of this magnificent palazzo.